Right now, millions of people are waking up, getting ready for jobs they secretly hate. The same office, the same desk, the same routine, day after day. But imagine something even worse. Imagine waking up 300,000 years ago. No weekends, no music, no books, no phone, no one to talk to for hours, and your only job was to keep a fire alive, not for an hour, not for a day, sometimes, for your entire life. It sounds unbelievably boring. But here's the strange part. That job may have been the single most important job in human history, because if one person failed, our species might never have become what it is today. Most people think the hardest ancient jobs were hunting mammoths, or fighting predators, or surviving freezing winters. Those jobs were dangerous, but they weren't constant. Fire was different. Fire never slept. Someone always had to watch I. Someone always had to feed it. Someone always had to make sure it didn't disappear. Because once it was gone, getting it back wasn't as simple as striking a match. In fact, for most of human history, losing fire could mean losing everything. But here's the question almost nobody asks. If keeping a fire alive was so important, who actually did it? Was it the strongest hunter, the oldest woman, the children, or did ancient humans choose someone whose entire purpose was simply to sit and wait? At first that sounds ridiculous. Why would anyone waste a healthy person doing nothing? But anthropology suggests something fascinating. Some of the earliest human communities may have depended on people who rarely hunted at all. Instead, they protected something even more valuable than food, the fire itself. Now think about what that job actually looked like. Hour after hour, you sat beside glowing embers, adding tiny sticks, blowing gently whenever the flames became weak, watching smoke rise into the sky. Again, and again, and again. No excitement. No adventure, no reward, just endless waiting. By modern standards, it might be the most boring job ever created. But boredom has a strange effect on the human brain. And this is where the story becomes much bigger than fire. Because modern neuroscience has discovered something surprising. When humans are forced into long periods of quiet, the brain doesn't become inactive. It becomes incredibly busy. It starts wandering, imagining. They simply had someone sitting beside a fire with hours and hours to think. What if the most important ideas in human history weren't born during the hunt, but while someone was quietly watching flames dance in the darkness? And if that's true, then the most boring job in history may have accidentally created the modern human mind. But before we can answer that, we need to understand something even more surprising. Why did humans become so dependent on fire in the first place, when every other animal on Earth managed to survive without it? Before we can understand why someone spent their life watching a fire, we need to answer a much bigger question. Why did humans need fire at all? After all, wolves survived without it. Lions survived without it. Bears survived without it. Even today, millions of animals live their entire lives without ever controlling fire. So why couldn't humans? The answer begins almost 2 million years ago, long before cities, before farming, before language as we know it. Our ancestors discovered something no other species ever mastered. Not how to make fire, but how to keep it alive. Anthropologists believe the earliest humans probably didn't create fire from scratch. Instead, they stole it. A lightning strike would set a tree on fire, or a volcano would leave burning wood behind. And humans carried those glowing embers back to their camps, because once the flames died, there was no guarantee another fire would appear for weeks or even months. Don't imagine that. One careless mistake, one rainy night, one strong wind, and your entire tribe could lose the most valuable thing they owned. Not gold, not weapons, fire at first. Fire kept predators away. Its light allowed people to stay awake after sunset. Its heat protected children during freezing nights. But then scientists realized something much stranger. Fire didn't just change the world around humans, it changed humans themselves. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham proposed a remarkable idea. Cooking food with fire gave our ancestors far more energy than eating everything raw. Cooked meat became easier to chew. Cooked roots became easier to digest. Our bodies spent less energy on digestion. And that extra energy helped fuel something extraordinary, a larger brain. Whether every detail of this hypothesis is correct is still debated by scientists, but many researchers agree that controlled fire played a crucial role in human evolution. Think about that for a second. The thoughts inside your head right now may exist because countless generations protected a few glowing embers. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. If fire became that valuable, someone had to stay behind. While everyone else hunted, gathered food, or explored new land, one person often remained near the camp, watching, waiting, protecting, hour after hour, day after day. Imagine watching the same flames. For thousands of sunsets, no explosions, no excitement, just crackling wood and silence, by today's standards. It sounds painfully boring, but what if that silence became humanity's greatest teacher? Because something unusual happens when your hands are busy, but your mind is free. You stop reacting to the world and start imagining things that don't exist. Tomorrow's hunt. The faces of people you've lost. Creatures hiding beyond the darkness. The stars above your head, questions no animal has ever asked. What happens after death? Why does the sun return every morning? Who made the sky? The firekeeper wasn't just protecting flames. They may have been protecting the first moments of deep human thought, and that changes everything. But if sitting beside a fire gave people so much time to think, because the next discovery, archaeologists made suggest those quiet hours didn't stay inside the human mind. They became something the world had never seen before. So, what happens when people spend hours sitting around a fire, with nothing urgent to do? At first, probably nothing, just silence. The sound of wood cracking, children sleeping nearby, the wind moving through the trees. But the human brain doesn't like empty space. It fills it with memories, with questions, with stories. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar argues that one of the biggest reasons humans developed complex language wasn't simply to organize hunts. It was to strengthen social bonds. Before language, our primate relatives bonded by grooming each other. But grooming only works one-on-one. Stories change that. Now one person could capture the attention of an entire group at once, around a fire. Around a fire, a single voice could make everyone laugh, warn them about danger, or teach children lessons they would remember for the rest of their lives, for the first time. Knowledge no longer had to die with the person who discovered it. It could be passed on, again and again and again and again. And that's when something extraordinary happened. The fire wasn't just keeping people warm anymore. It became the world's first classroom, the world's first theater, the world's first library. Every generation added another story, another lesson, another idea, long before books existed. Human memory became the library. Now think about your own life. Have you ever stared into a campfire, or even watched rain falling against a window, and suddenly found yourself thinking about things you hadn't thought about in years? There's a reason for that. Modern neuroscience shows that when your mind isn't focused on a demanding task, a network in the brain called the default mode network becomes more active. It's strongly linked to memory, imagination, planning, and self-reflection. In other words, quiet moments aren't empty, they're productive. Your brain is quietly making connections. Ancient humans didn't know the science, but they experienced the feeling, night after night, year after year. So, was watching fire really the most boring job in human history? Maybe. But perhaps we've been thinking about boredom the wrong way, because boredom isn't always the absence of something sometimes. It's the beginning of something. Without quiet, there may have been fewer stories. Why are stories? Less shared knowledge. Without shared knowledge, civilization would have looked very different. The people who stayed behind the fire, whether they were elders, injured hunters, parents caring for children, or simply whoever remained in camp, may never have become famous. History doesn't remember their names, but every time they protected those flames, they helped protect the place where ideas could grow, and perhaps that was one of the most important jobs anyone could have had. The next time you catch yourself doing nothing, waiting, or feeling bored, remember this: the same feeling that frustrates us today may have helped shape the minds of our ancestors thousands of generations ago. Not every quiet moment is wasted. Some of history's greatest ideas may have started beside a fire, with someone who simply had time to think. If you enjoy asking the kinds of questions that most people never think to ask, questions about where our habits, emotions, and everyday lives really came from, then you're exactly who this channel is for. Because every week we'll travel back thousands of years to uncover the hidden stories that explain why humans became human. Until next time.